how can we exist as our truest selves yet in the environments, in the structures, in the societies, within the systems that conditioned us to be this shadow self. So let's get into it. Hi, my friend. I think it's interesting that as we go on this journey, we become again more aware of our own selves, of our own patterns. And that's the whole point of this journey. It's more so self mastery, right? And that's really what I want to drive home in this episode. It really is self mastery and understanding self and understanding the patterns that you perpetuate so that you're not unconsciously moving through life. These were things that you once acquired because you felt like you needed them. Do you really need those things? Hmm. I love clothes a lot, obsessed with fashion. But when you think about fast fashion and how, all these other things, climate issues, whatnot, but when you think about fast fashion and how there's a constant supply of these things, it's like, how many things do you really need, right? And I used to be like that. Every time that I would want to go out, I would get something. And I mean, I still have those tendencies now, don't get me wrong. So this is not me pointing fingers and saying, oh, if this is how you do, then that's wrong. No, again, it's your truth, it's your journey. But for me, I used to have the tendencies to, every time I want to go out, I want to order a new outfit. I want to look, oof, I want to, honestly, that added more to my plate than I even realized because I would have to now go to the website to start looking for what exactly I want to buy. I would start, you know, fixating on the smallest detail. Okay, is this what I want? Is this the color I want? I have to scroll. Like, I found all of that stressful and it took so much energy and time from me. Now, let's look at the psychological side of things. What's actually going on behind the scenes, what's actually going on in our heads when that happens? I'll speak for myself. To me, it's like, for me to want something and desire it so desperately, like desire it so much that I have to ensure that I have this outfit on lock before I can go to this event, that means I don't feel like I'm enough, right? And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you shouldn't want the finer things of life. I'm not saying you shouldn't want nicer things. I'm saying when things start to get extreme, when it becomes perpetual, when it's like, oh, I cannot leave my house until I have a new outfit, then that's questionable because you've taken your worth, your value as a person showing up and equated that to you ensuring you must have this particular outfit before you show up. Now that becomes a condition. So up until you have this killer banging body outfit, you're not gonna go to that event. You're not gonna show up, right? And like I said, this process was so stressful for me. It wasn't serving me. Neither did it make me feel better about myself because what do I mean that I have to go get a certain outfit before I feel confident enough to step out, right? And when we zoom into the themes of consciousness, we see how this comes from a place of inadequacy, right? Inadequacy being underscored by that persistent desire to always accumulate things, to always want more. And it's like, of course, you want more because you don't feel enough. And you wouldn't, the idea is that you would not feel enough by gaining more things because that was never the thing that was off in the first place, right? When we zoom further into the wounded theme of consciousness, we see how the essence of rejection shows up across all of these other wounded theme of consciousness. In reality, it's not that we actually want these things. We want them to fill a void. We want them so that we feel better about ourselves, so that we feel more accepted, because again, rejection would mean that we had been rejected to whatever degree, whether it's self rejection, whether it's rejection from the external world, or we have felt that rejection. And now we seek acceptance, we seek to be loved, to feel among, and we must do whatever it is within our capacity to fill that void. So, acquiring all of these things, desiring to acquire things, accumulating material things, we believe that that is going to fill that void. And that is where the societal framing comes in. That is where the large society and the conditioning that they have put on us comes in. Now, why do we even think that? Why do I even think that for me to feel better about myself, for me to feel more confident when I show up at an event, I have to buy a new outfit? Why do I even feel that? And that's where the capitalism comes in. That's where the commercial world comes in, right? Because they want to move their sales. And now, because they want to move their sales, they can say anything to get you to buy it. They would give you promises. They would tell you that, oh, you buy this skincare product and all your blemishes go away. I'm not saying that that skincare product is not gonna is not going to give you clear skin, no. But if everyone is saying, oh, buy this, buy that, 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 to become this or that, and over again, you're buying this, you're buying that, you're accumulating all of these things so that you finally feel accepted, right? Because again, they are highlighting all of your flaws, all of your fears, all of your inadequacies, all of the things that you don't feel complete, whole enough about. And then they're telling you this is the solution to it. Once you buy this product, oof, what do you mean? Clear skin. Okay, now your how you felt inadequate was because you had, a skin that wasn't that clear. Now you have clear skin. How you felt inadequate was you weren't feeling confident enough. Now you have this outfit that's going to make you feel confident. How you felt inadequate was your body wasn't looking good enough. So now you go to the gym every time and you obsessively go to the gym so that you have this body. And I'm calling myself out. Because when I started my workout journey, that's how I was too. I'm like obsessively going to the gym, obsessively consuming protein shakes so that I get the body like now. And you realize that when you get to that point, after you've acquired something, because you've trained your mind to keep looking for things to fill the void, yet again, you're going to need more and more things, right? And when you see that this is a conditioning that was put onto us by the society, it's like, do you actually need the things? Do you actually want these things? And you might, but the whole point of this is, how conscious are you? How aware are you? Where is your I in all of this? Where is your me in all of this? Is your I asleep while your me is like running the wheels unconsciously? Or is there a sense of consciousness to the things that you do? Is there a degree of consciousness to the way that you move through the world? Right? Because again, the society would push whatever narrative it wants to push, and that is where framing and reframing comes in. The society would push whatever narrative it wants to push to to get what it wants. Like, I mean, that's what people would do, right? So it's left to you on the other end of things to ask yourself, is this me or is this I? Is this my own desires, or are these desires that I have been conditioned to seek? And that is where the true self, being I, and the shadow self being me comes in, because the shadow self is heavy in the wounding. The shadow self feels so rejected, feels so inadequate, like feels so unlovable, just wants so much love because the world has shown that version Pepe, right? And then it's the very shadow desires that the world seeks to satisfy. Can it be satisfied? In my experience, no. It thrives on the shadow desires. And as we evolve on this journey, as we get to this point where we are now, you know, more healed, less wounded, we are transforming, we've transformed, we're still transforming, we still see how these desires show up, right? And for me, it's asking, do you really want this thing? And who wants this? Is this the true version of self? Because the true version of self doesn't have conditions. It's unconditional love. So it doesn't actually have conditions. It accepts things as the way they are. It's not expecting things to look a certain way. It doesn't even have these desires anymore because it sees that these desires come from a place of inadequacy, which is wounding. It sees that fundamentally this comes from a place of rejection. So once you start accepting yourself and being true to yourself, then these desires start to fizzle away because they were never yours to begin with. The desires were never yours to begin with. They were passed on to you just as the wounding was passed on to you. Within that desire is where control comes in. Wherever your desire lies, that's where you should be looking. Because your desires are there, it's like it becomes make or break, right? You want that so bad because you desire it so bad, then
We've attached our value and our worth to our desires, and that becomes a tool for controlling our values. And that's also connected to our fears because we fear the possibility of not having our desires met.
that's why I said, what are your desires? Are they genuinely your desires, or are they coming from a place of wounding or of conditioning? If they are your actual desires, then truly pay attention to what your desires are, because that's where control comes in. Now, if these are egotistical desires, if these are shadow desires, then of course they're tied to more materialistic things. And within the society that we find ourselves in, the tendency for that to be controlled is higher. On this journey of self mastery, of understanding self better, you have to understand your desires. And whenever you're in an altercation or an interaction, knowing that your very desires are the things that make you show up in a certain way. I don't know, however that looks like for you, just observe it in your own life. In that interaction, what do you desire from the other person? Because again, there's always something that we want, especially within the walls of relationship dynamics, friendships, any relationship really, connections. There's always a desire. Like, what do you want from interacting with this person? What do you want from being close to this person? And what does that person want from you? So I think it's very important to just observe your own desires, observe how you show up based on your desires, observe how the other person shows up based on their desires.